Hey, folks! Welcome to the pre-show. We're just getting set up, and looks like we're all set up. We just have to start the stream at the right time, and that's coming up. Remember, we've got 4 minutes and 25 seconds before we go live. So sit tight, hold on to your butts. Let us entertain you for a few moments before we actually get rolling on the radio station. Hey, field guy, am I the last minute replacement guest? I'm available. Hey, if I run down to a last minute and I need you, I'll call you. But thanks for being here, Fieldy. Good to see you. We got 4 minutes and less than 4 minutes now. Got almost 3 minutes. I'm going to start the live stream for the radio station. We get a little bit of feedback. I need to put on my headset for that so we don't have the feedback coming in. So it should take me about the rest of the time to untangle this mess from my kids. So how's everybody tonight? I see Sarah Yusuf. Good to see you. People start gathering. As I try to talk and untangle a knot at the same time. How about that? There's Uncle Dave is here tonight. He's actually here with us. So he might just pull up a chair and join us. Oh, he can't stay. So he brought some swords for Flynn to try out. Flynn's got a sword, one of my old swords, but we don't have the scabbard for it. So Dave said, in looking for scabbards, I got to turn this so I can plug in my sound. We got 2 minutes left before we go live. And there, that should do it. Right there. That should take care of my feedback issue. And I think that this should work just fine. Yes, I hear myself loud and clear. So there we go. So if y'all want to say hi to Uncle Dave, he's here. Hey, Grumpy Stack, I'm glad to see you are grumpy and upholding your end of the deal. So here's Uncle Dave. He's going to pull up a chair. Uncle Dave with swords. I come bearing swords. Hey, Rudy. Good to see you. Barbie D, good to see you. Susie Q. Master Finn, master and commander of this here chat room. We've got Ken Ballos is waiting in the wings, and we don't bring him in for a few more minutes. So Dave Potter says, hey, KB, we can see you. We just don't have you in the window yet. So there he is. He's waving. And there's Flynn. All ready to go to the festival tomorrow, now with a couple of new swords, some of Dave's collection, because he had scabbards that matched these. So they're going to have a fun day tomorrow. Hey, Roger Rabbit, good to see you. Mark Eddy, good to see you. Paige Rockwell, I can never say your name. Suey, good to see you. Glad you're here. So, and if you're new to the program, this is the pre-show, and we're going to start up in about 10 seconds. So we're going to go dark and go to our opening credits. So everybody, sit tight.
Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Well, happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the program. I'm your host, Scotty Roberts, as usual. And this here is my show. And it's the Intrepid radio broadcast right here on Odyssey Radio. That's ODYSY radio.com. If you want to hear it just in its audio format as it broadcasts from the station, tune in over there. You can also tune in the video simulcast, which you'll find in 4 different places, 3 of them over on Facebook and 1 of them on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And while you're there, subscribe to the channel, give this show a thumbs up. Helps the algorithms, you know how all that stuff goes. And if you want to become a member of this channel, you can just click the little join button. It'll show you how. And so thank you, everybody, for your presence tonight. I think we've got a real treat tonight in a good friend of mine, Kenny KB, as he says, Ballos from Virginia. He sent me some stuff here, which I don't think I looked at. Let me tell you what he said, because I know something about Kenny, but I wanted to get some information from him. Kenny is a former cop. He is a retired cop, and he's a paranormal investigator. He's been a broadcaster on radio for years. You can find his radio show, I think it's just in Virginia, on 102.9 FM near Richmond, and it's called the RIP RIP Paranormal Talk Radio Show, and it's hosted by KB, and that's the name. And for years, he's part of the Richmond Investigators of the Paranormal, and he comes with his cop days and his paranormal days, and all of his experience out there with some interesting ghost stories for us tonight. As you could see, by the way, Uncle Dave is here at my house tonight. He's not so much going to come on unless I can coax him, and then he'll take here Rainey's chair, and he'll sit in and maybe talk with us. But he's working with Flynn over there. He brought a couple of extra swords for the festival. Flynn's going out to the Renaissance Festival tomorrow. Sam is taking him, so 2 brothers, and we got them all outfitted last week. Some of you may have seen the photos that we put up on my Facebook page of these 2, and they're going to have a great time. And I had swords for them, but we were missing sheaths. And so Dave said, I'll bring some sheaths, and or scabbards, and I'll bring some extra swords too. So he brought some very cool swords. Dave, he's a sword master, certified fight master. And so he's got all these weapons. And so that's what they're doing. That's what Uncle Dave is doing here tonight. My light seems really bright tonight for some reason. There you go. I don't know what's going on. We're not set up. Those of you joining us freshly, as you all know, we just moved. We're in the new digs. We haven't got the studio set up yet. We're just a desk in the middle of the concrete basement. And so no decorations yet, and no point in putting any up. You know why? Because we're going to be decorating here pretty soon. painting walls, putting stuff up, and yada, yada, yada. So, by the way, I just wanted to report in that I had one video of mine. I got a notice today from YouTube that I had a video that was taken down, defunded, deflagged, branded. If you remember that old show, if you're old like me, you'll remember that old show Branded with Chuck Connors from the early mid-1960s, where he's a cavalry soldier in the Old West, and he did something and he gets branded, and they rip all his patches off, his rank patches, and they break his sword and throw it in the desert dirt. And so that's what I have been by YouTube today. And they said, and of course they don't give you a reason other than you have been in violation of our standards. And the standard, as I read it, said this. Now, guys, you think back to my shows and tell me if this sounds right to you. Let's see. If I click here, I think I can see it. It says, oh, it gives me the policies and all of that. And there's a big, long page of policies. It's a video from almost 2 years ago, January of 2020. No, January 2021 is when this video came up. And it was when I was talking about, if you remember, talking about Enoch, the book of Enoch, and talking about Enoch in the original language and so on. Well, one of those shows, as you know, I don't do a lot of politics on this show, but I lapsed into talking about the news of the day. And the news of the day was they were talking, boy, I wonder if I even say these words now, if I'll get tagged again. But they said that I was talking about and promoting misinformation regarding the election and a fraudulent election. And I said, well, no, I didn't. I was reporting the news of the day. And so they pulled my video for that. And so I wrote them back because you have a place to dispute. And I asked, I said, could you please point out in this video where I was promoting misinformation? I was reporting what was going on in the news that day. And I ended it by saying, look, we live in a country, don't we? I said, where you, as YouTube, I said, you've experienced all the benefits of living in a country and founding a business in the country that you have constitutional protections that protect you as you create your platform. I said, yet you don't seem to want to afford those same constitutional protections to your members because we can't talk about an election. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If you could explain that to me, YouTube, I said, I'll be all ears. I said, in the meantime, I think you need to go watch my video again and find out where I violated terms of misinformation. So I just wanted to share that all with you. That's as far as I'll go with that because I don't want to waste a lot of time on that. We got Kenny Ballos waiting in the wings. I'm going to bring him in right now, and we're going to talk a little ghosts. Kenny.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hey, it's me. It's KB right here. Yeah, live. And it's an honor to be on this show tonight, guys. And I'm glad to be aboard. And he told you a little bit about me. And like I said, I've done paranormal a little over 25 years. I was a police officer for 30 years. I did radio, drive time shows, and things like that. Richmond Investigators of the Paranormal presents Paranormal Talk Radio. That's what the RP went, the RP. And so we did a lot of investigations and where we just didn't talk and talk like the other guys. We walked the walk because we were Richmond Investigators.
Walk the walk.
And so what we did was...
Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, so what we would do, just didn't talk to talk. Like, okay, coast to coast, they just talk to talk. We walked that walk, you know, so we went out and investigated. We talked about it. We brought live footage back. And we were the type of guys that just because you called us and want us to investigate your property and you wanted to be haunted, well, if I went in there, we'd set up, we investigate, nothing happened that night. It doesn't mean it's not haunted. It just means nothing happened that night. And no, we wouldn't put it out there that your place had paranormal activity if we didn't catch it. If we caught it, we'll send you a video, a copy, so you can watch it and make a decision. If you want to put it out to the public, we would do that for you. But other than that, what it is, and If we don't get it, I'm not going to say it because you're a friend of mine and you want to put it out there to make a little money. No, we don't do it like that.
Let me just clear up one little dispute going on in the chat room. Field guy, this is not live yesterday. This is live today, right now. So we are live, folks. We don't do many pre-recorded shows anymore. That was a former incarnation. So I don't think I put up a pre-recorded show since we started the Intrepid radio program with Odyssey Radio 3.5 years ago now. So, and if I did, it was only as a filler because I was gone. But we are live. Oh, he was kidding. That's Field Guy for you. There, I fell right into your trap, your evil clutches. Kenny, one thing I want to ask you, and I think maybe a lot of people, and guys, by the way, guys, you can pose your questions. You can even call in if you want to ask Ken some questions. But let's get rolling first. And one of the things I'm dying to ask you is, as a cop, in all the stuff you did as a cop, did you already have a belief in ghosts, experiences, the paranormal? Did that develop along the way? Did that develop from anything you encountered as a cop? Did you have many encounters as a cop?
Well, I think what really got me interested was a couple of things that happened to me when I was probably in my 20s. Went to this. I was staying at this girl's house, and I was dating her, and that night it started snowing real bad, and I had a little sports car. Well, I couldn't drive home in it because of the snow. Her mother said, "I'll tell you what, we'll let you stay over the night, but you're gonna have to sleep on the couch." And I said, "Okay, I can do that." So as I was laying on the couch, I got all my blankets and pillows and all that. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up. I saw a figure of a man standing in between was an archway and a small hall in the bathroom to your right. And I saw this big guy standing there, just leaning from side to side, just waving back and forth. So I thought, it was her dad was a big man. So I said, well, he's gonna play a joke on me. I didn't say nothing. I just kept watching this thing weave side to side. I said, "Hey, Ralph, what are you doing?" He didn't answer me. I said, "All right, man, that's enough. I need to get some sleep." Well, he didn't answer me, so I rushed over and I cut the light on. And as soon as I cut the light on, the hall was empty. Nothing there. I rushed back over, cut the light off, still standing there. You know what KB did? KB slept the light on. KB slept with the light on. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I left that light on all night. Well, I got up the next morning, and she said, "What are you doing with the light on?" I said, "If I tell you, you're not gonna believe me." She said, "Oh, you saw the man." I said, "What?" Her mother said, "You saw the man in the hall." I said, "Yeah. What's it all about?" She said, "Well, some guy committed suicide in that hallway between there and the bathroom. He committed suicide." So that got my interested in the paranormal. That's how it actually happened. I got started from that.
Wow.
And that's how it got started. I was a police officer back then, and me, I was hard headed. You have to show me something to make me believe it. That's the way it was.
They could have made a TV series out of Ken Ballos.
But,
KB, the streets of Richmond.
Don't even go there.
I'm doing banjo. Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm stereotyping.
But like I said, you get as old as me, and things like that happen. But yeah, that was a spooky situation. Now, like I said, when I cut the light on and that thing was gone, and I cut the light back off, it was still standing there. Like I said, it was a big guy, and he would weave from just like side to side. He wouldn't say nothing, just weave back and forth. And I kept saying, "All right, Ralph, that's enough. I got to get some sleep." And I hit it another time, and nothing there. There was a light stayed on all night. Yeah.
I got in the habit a long time ago. I grew up afraid of the dark. I was a kid who was deathly afraid of the dark.
Right.
And that went away the older I got. And I do paranormal investigations now, probably for close to 25 or 30 years.
Yeah.
And the point where, and I say this and I knock on wood and with a little grain of salt, I don't get scared anymore. I can get startled.
Yeah.
And there's maybe there would be a situation where something would happen and I'd, God forbid I would soil my trousers. I don't think that would happen. I say that kind of euphemistically or tongue in cheek for being scared. I can go into dark places, but it's an unsettling thing when you don't know what's there. I don't have a problem going in a place alone, but if I'm alone and it's totally dark, I want to know where I'm walking, what I'm stepping into, what's around me. I don't want to turn on that night vision camera and look through the lens and see a guy's face right in front of me.
Right.
So don't surprise me. And but since those days, I grew up watching TV. I always had a TV on at night, if not the lights. And so now, even now, as an adult, knowing all the things that are out there and around you all the time, you do a voice box session, a spirit box session, or an EVP session, and you're picking up people communicating with you. Where are they? They're right here in my room, because that's where I'm sitting now. My wife has now put down a rule, none of that in the house. And because she doesn't want to attract it to the house, but I'll still sleep with the TV on, and Rainey and I will put on something on YouTube that's like sleep music, and put it way down so the light's always on. There's always something going on. So I've got some of the same stuff going on. I wanted to see if there were people who had some questions for you here over in the chat room. Tell us. I know I would like to know. What kind of things do you experience the most when you're doing your investigations? Do you pick up, is it simple stuff, the get out or help me or whatever it might be? What would be one of the most profound things that you have picked up?
Knocks. I used to get a lot of knocking, and that's going to lead me to a story later I'm going to tell you guys. Used to get a lot of knocking, and the EVPs that we did back in the day, we used the analog tape recorders. So you had to put that on the computer just to clear it up, make sure you caught something. And a lot of times you'll hear get out, help, and you'll hear a name, and that's some of the things that you would normally hear. But I've heard quite a few times get out, and we did a recording at a old plantation out here in Virginia. It was a hunt club. And we did an investigation, and that was one spooky place. It's on about a 4,000 acre farm, and during the Civil War, they would have people. The north was on one side of the field, the south was on the other side, and they were bombing the hell out of this house. The guy that owned the property had a butler, and this guy went nuts. His little daughter started to go up the steps, and he thought it was a Union soldier. And so he shot 4 or 5 times to kill his daughter at the bottom of the steps. And when he realized what he did, he got so distraught, he went upstairs and he killed the butler, the servant that he had working for him. So he killed him. And that was one eerie place. I remember going around to the kitchen area, which used to be the front porch back in the 1800s. And when you walked around the kitchen and around the hallway to go to that room to go up them steps, it was a feeling of dread. I mean, it's like the air was real heavy. It would actually make you take a deep breath, and the more you go up the steps, the more hard it got to breathe, and you felt like something was going to happen to you. Me being a cop, well, I've always went by my intuition.
So you got spidey sense.
Yeah, when I would go to Civil War, something would tell me stand on the side of the door, and I would listen, and I did that before, and been shot through the door 3 or 4 times. Bullets would come through the door. So I had this thing where if it didn't feel right, there's something in my mind was telling me, don't go right now, stop where you're at and just relax. I would stop and relax. But I remember finally making it up to the top of the steps, man. It was uncanny. I mean, it's hard to explain the dread, the sorrow, and the whole 9 yards. But we got a couple of great recordings off that. What we did was we had the camera system set up outside in the yard. We didn't want no electronics in the house. So we had it set up outside, running off generators. And one of our new investigators that we got, he was gung-ho, and nothing scares him. Nothing in this world scares him. So he said, I want to go upstairs by myself. I'm going to go up there, sit in that bed, just sit on the bed for a while. And I said, okay, you do that, and just be careful what you ask for. So we were sitting outside, we were watching at the monitors. We see him going through the house, and he gets at the end of the steps, and he stands there, takes 2 or 3 breaths. He kind of shook like he was cold. Then he waited a few minutes, and he finally made it up to the top of the steps. He took his voice recorder with him. And when he got up there, he was asking questions like you normally would. And of course, all he heard was static. He didn't hear anything. So he stayed about maybe 10 minutes and came on back down the steps. And man, this is nothing like that. This is nothing. I can do anything.
This is nothing.
So we took his recorder, put it in the computer, backtracked it, cleared all the ambient noise out of it. And when he asked the questions, something told him, "Get the hell out of here! I'm gonna kill you." When he heard that, this guy turned snow white.
Really? Now, did he hear this out loud, audibly, or on machinery?
No, he didn't hear it. He didn't hear it at all. But when we took it back and clear all the ambient noise out of it,
I see.
Get the hell out of here! I'll kill you. Exactly what we heard. And I get chills right now, guys, telling you that, because that's what we heard on the report. And we asked him, "You want to go back?" He said, "No, I'll stay where I'm at." You know.
Now, what do you think if you hear that and you're on site and you play it back and hear that? Will you get out or will you challenge it? Do you think that we are in danger when you hear things like that?
I think you can be in danger. You know, are we dealing with ghost entities? Or is it a demon? And I tell people, you got to be careful what you do in paranormal investigations. We always said a prayer before we go in. We always said a prayer after we leave. Our group was paranormal investigators. That's what we did. We investigated. Most of my guys were police officers. So we went in, investigated just like a crime scene. We tried to get all the evidence and all the information we can on the house. We would go back and do a search of the history of the house and the property. So we just didn't go in kind of blind, like most people go in blind and they say, well, I feel this, I feel that. We don't have to feel this and feel that. We know the history of the house. We know what happened at the house. So we would go from there and investigate it just like we're investigating a homicide or a crime.
Sure.
And put all the facts together. And that's how we investigate it. And a lot of people, you know, today, they'll go in there and they got a so-called psychic person on the team, and they'll tell you this and tell you that. And we've done this before with invited some people to come down and tell us what you see or what you feel. And the guy at that plantation didn't tell us about the baby girl. Didn't tell us any little girl was killed. Didn't tell us about the butler that was killed. All he said is that he had Civil War soldiers on the front porch, which is now the kitchen. They would see walking back and forth and going like they were coming in the house. That's all he would tell us. He said nothing about the ghost, nothing about the little girl. And one of our intuitives, she is really scary, and she don't like to tell people that she's an intuitive. But she described this little girl. She said the girl looked to be about anywhere between 6 to 9 years old. She had a little white dress on. Well, at the end of the night, after it's all said and done, the guy asked him, he said, did y'all see it? And we asked him, of course, see what? He said, did you see the little girl? And I get chills in my arms. I'm telling that. And he said, did you see the little girl? And I said, wow. I said, you didn't tell us about it. He said, no, I just wanted to see if y'all could experience it. Then Tina, of course, told him what the little girl looked like and what she had on. He said, yes, when she was shot on the bottom of the steps, she had the little white dress on. But Tina kept telling us that night, early that night while we were investigating, she kept saying, the little girl wants the little ball. I'm thinking, what the hell are you smoking? What do you got in your cigarettes? I had this little ball in my paranormal box. It was round yellow and had a little smiley face, 2 eyes, and a black smile, like a little smiley face. And Tina kept saying the whole night, the little girl wants to play with the ball. She wants the ball. I'm thinking, what the hell are you talking about? What girl? She said, the little girl wants to play with the ball. So that night went on and went on. She kept saying, you should give that little girl the ball. Well, anyway, I'll make the story short. After it was over that night, and I made me think about this little girl after I found out this girl was murdered. I left a little ball at the bottom of the steps. You know, if she wanted that ball, and to me, it was worth it just to take it. It was a one-of-a-kind ball that you bought at that time. You couldn't find many of them. So I said, well, this little girl loves that little yellow ball. I'm going to leave it for her. And I left it. Now, you got to remember, this is a hunt club. Like you, me, and a bunch of guys would go hunting at night. We would go up steps. They had 2 big, large rooms up there, and they had all these beds lined up against the walls. The strange thing about this is these are grown men. I'm saying anywhere between 40, maybe 60 years old. They sleep upstairs when they go hunting. But so we turned around to leave, and the guys started coming in with the shotguns and all that. I said, "Want me to hit the lights off?" He said, "No, we don't sleep in the dark." Them old guys will told us we do not sleep in the dark. And
Nice.
you talk about all the guys with shotguns and rifles, and we get ready to
Sure.
leave. So we'll cut the lights off. No, we leave the lights on. We don't sleep in the dark here. And this hunt club is still there, and it's in the county of Amelia, Virginia. And just down the road, It was a church. It was a haunted church down the road, built in late 1700s. It was built, and this church is one spooky church, and it still has the original wallpapers, which has blood stains still to this day. Is still in paper. They never replaced it, so they still have that blood stains on the wall. And we never had a chance to go back to investigate it, but it's supposed to be a real paranormal stuff going on there. But
Sure.
never had a chance to go back. Would love to go back and do it. We passed the church going to the plantation, but I never got a chance to investigate the church. That's just one.
We got Daniel Ondra here, who you know very well. He said, "Ken, tell everyone the story about the house we investigated across from the school on New Ashcake Road."
Yeah, about Pierce's Corner. There was a house we investigated. It was Daniel. His dad was there and all that, and we went and investigated the house. The lady said that she had paranormal activity in the house. Well, okay, we did a little bit of history on the house and try to find out what went on. Well, what happened was a guy committed suicide, blew his brains out as soon as he walked in the door, right beside the closet. And he did. He fell against the door, and he stayed in there. I think originally he stayed in there for 2 weeks before anybody discovered him that he was missing. Nobody went to the house. So they finally, one of his family members went to the house and couldn't get in the door. So they pushed the door real hard. When he did, he killed over. Half his face was gone. He blew his brains out.
Oh boy.
And another person committed suicide in that same spot, except not there, but it's a closet right behind that door. A person went inside that closet and hung themselves, and they were related. And this happened at two different times. And had strange things going on that night. We caught a couple of nights EVPs and heard voices and doors shutting while we're in one part of the house. It's just an eerie place, And I used to wonder when I used to go by there all the time, why is this house always being rented? You would see somebody move in about 2 to 3 weeks later, everybody was gone.
Yeah.
About a month later, somebody else has moved in.
They
Went
couldn't
by
keep
there. As a matter of
tenants,
fact,
huh?
I went by there this afternoon when I was hitting in that area, and it looked like somebody's moving in. So the guy sold the house.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, it's a long house. It's a ranch been added on. I mean, it's big, real big. It's a big place. It's spooky.
Now, being in Virginia, I'm going to assume that you have a lot of historical hauntings. I think of the Civil War. I think of Virginia. I think of the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
Have
And
you
then-
encountered any ghosts, spirits from those eras in our country?
Well, again, I'm going back to Tina. We went and did a place out here in Cold Harbor Apartments. Cold Harbor Apartments is a battlefield right across the street. It was one of the bloodiest battles of the Civil War. 10,000 men died within so many minutes. And they said
what battle was that?
it was the Battle of Gaines Mill and Beaver Dam Creek.
Gainesville.
And
Okay.
Beaver Dam Creek. The soldiers that were coming through the swamps and were headed towards Richmond, trying to get to the capital. Well, the Confederacy made a line. They didn't want them to get past this line to get to Richmond. They were about maybe 6 or 7 miles away from the capital back then, which was the capital there is. We're not talking about the governor's mansion, but we're talking about the capital of the White House, Jefferson Davis. His White House was
Right.
downtown in Richmond, right behind the MCV Hospital, one of the biggest hospitals in the state and well known. Right behind that hospital, as you're going into the foyer and going in, you look to your left, it's a big marble building. It looks like a White House, and that's what Jefferson Davis was. His son fell off a balcony. I got pictures, and I'll tell you about it later if you want to hear about it.
Sure.
Of the capital of the White House. But yeah, we did an investigation just down the street. I won't give the name because the guy didn't want to put out there, but it's a place that has storage areas. And you think of storage areas, little rooms where you put your stuff in it. Well, his
Sure.
storage areas have long hallways that go off this way and this way, and as you're going down the halls, they got the bins in it, so you can put your stuff inside. So it's temperature controlled, heated, the whole 9 yards. Make sure your furniture stays good. Well, I got a few pictures, and I still have them, and I should have brought them out tonight, but we went in and investigated. We took a few pictures, and inside the middle of the hallway, when you walk, you get a dampness feeling. Now, we had the heat on, but it was a damp heat feeling, like it's cold in here. So we took kept taking pictures, and we used static night vision cameras, just like everybody does. And we were taking these pictures, and we looked at them. You could see a guy looked like he was sitting on a log, holding a rifle. It looked just as real as could be. And one of my buddies went down the hallway, took a right to go in that hallway. It's real long. Took a right, and he was standing back in the back. He said he could wait and see if anything shows up in front of him. So he was standing back by himself, and we heard him scream like a little girl. Ran out. You could hear somebody banging on the 10 doors of this place.
Okay.
It scared this guy so bad. He said, "I'm not going back in there tonight." And so, like I said, we're invited to go back. We took Wilbur Allen from Air Force One. He was a engineer on Air Force One. 3 presidents: Ronald Reagan, George Bush, and Bill Clinton. He was their engineer. So I had a guy in Hollywood that knew a lot of Hollywood stars and things like that. And he had a little pool for me where I could get to meet some of these people. Well, it took me 6 months to get in touch with Wilbur Allen, because it's hard to get in touch with anybody that works for the president. So when I finally got in touch with him, we became good friends, and he came down. We did a UFO show here at the studios, and that's another. I mean, I got so many stories, Well, anyway, he brought in his cameras. They're not static nighttime cameras like you and I are familiar with the green haze, static vision. He was a former operative for the government, and he said he couldn't tell me which part, but he said if he told me, he would have to kill me. Well, I'm okay. You ain't got to tell me. But the cameras that he had, 2 of them, and I've never seen anything like it in my life. He said, "Come here, I want to show what this camera does." I said, "Okay." He said, "Find the darkest place in this building you can find." We found a room, no windows, no lights on, no nothing. We stepped inside this little closet. I put my hand in front of my face, couldn't see it. Couldn't see my hands, couldn't see nothing. And he said, "Now look through this." When I looked through it, it was like looking through broad daylight, true color.
Nice.
So whatever
So
the
he
camera,
obviously had access to some pretty stellar
yes,
equipment.
he's got a camera. He's got I know he's got 2 of them there that he upgraded from a Delcon 4, which is the same telescopic lens on it as the Hubble telescope had. This is the strongest cameras, and it's handheld. And he just upgraded to, I think he's had a Delcon 6 or something like that. And he says more sophisticated than the Hubble telescope, some of the telescopes that they sit in space. And I asked him, "Well, who are they making them for?" He wouldn't tell me why they made them. But like I said, it's not the things you see, the green haze, and you got to have a certain lights to see through it. I'm telling you, it's like looking at me and you right now in total darkness, and all of a sudden you look through this camera lens.
Now, have you ever seen anything on that camera? Anything paranormal? Did you have the opportunity to use it?
We haven't caught anything paranormal, but he went up to his television show, Michigan, Alaska. He went up there and filmed a series on UFOs in Alaska, and I think he said it was like 32 below zero. I mean, it was extremely cold. He took the camera there, and he caught a couple of
Minnesota winter. Yeah.
Oh, he said it was in Alaska, boy. He said it's in the Arctic. He said he said it was unreal. He said he slept at night. He put packs in his clothes trying to stay warm.
Nice,
yeah. But he's got some great stuff with the camera. When he filmed with it, he's got a telescope. One telescope that when he films in the outer space area, that one telescope that he sets up, I know weighs 150 pounds. A telescope. Wow. Then he hooks his camera to the back of it. So he's filming inner space within our airspace. Anything up there he sees. And if you guys are interested in his stuff that he does, you can always go to UFODC.com. You could go there and check some of the UFO information he's got coming out. I know he's headed to California in a few weeks. to do a paranormal ghost or either UFOs. He specialized in the UFOs. Matter of fact, he said that Ronald Reagan used to sit on a plane all the time, and he said Reagan was infatuated with the UFOs, things of this nature. And Reagan was one of the first ones that wanted to have the Star Wars.
The Star Wars initiative, yeah.
Yeah. Now we have the Space Force in the United States. It's basically based on his philosophy. If we were ever to be invaded or put the things up in there where we could shoot.
He said that he slipped that out in a public address once, or was it the United Nations address he made?
Yeah.
He was talking about Star Wars.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of things the government knows that won't tell me or you. And it's a lot of people in the government that knows stuff they can't tell anybody. I mean, period. You know, if they tell it, they might as well say they're dead. Like you said, if the government wants to get rid of you, accidents happen. And you tell me, yeah, accidents happen. He wouldn't tell me what type of accident, but accidents do happen. It could be natural, so they say, give you a little something, give you a heart attack, or he died of a heart attack, or his brakes failed, or something. So, you know, and you ask me, like I said, I've worked for the state for 30 years. And do I trust our government? I'll tell you straight to your face. Hell no. Am I scared of our government? You better be.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not going that way with the story because I'm here to talk about paranormal, but he knows you. He knows me. Well, I'll do a morning coffee show and I'll talk about anything. You don't mind me saying it, do you?
No. I was just going to say, as long as you're talking about it, pump your show a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's not going to pump, but like I said, I'm a non-political type guy. I did a radio show called People Talk Radio, where you don't have to be politically correct. And the morning coffee is basically the same thing. You know, you're sitting around the house, nothing to do, join me, have a cup of coffee, tell your friends about it. Everybody talking on the internet. Scotty comes on and talks his talk and has a great time. And we're talking about anything. We talk about politics. We talk about the paranormal. I'll talk about your mama's paranormal. We talk about the three-letter word sex. If I don't know anything about it, you're not the only one that can fake it. So you come in morning coffee with KB guys, we'll talk about anything, and I won't cut you off. If you even had the LSD syndrome, and I'm not going there with it because too much politics. It's not a political radio show. But join me in the mornings, Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock live on Facebook. And
it'd be 9 o'clock Eastern.
Eastern time.
You can.
And if I finish, don't worry about it. It shall pass. Yeah, it'll pass.
Just go over to his Facebook page, and Kenny Ballos, Ballos.
Yeah, Ken Ballos. Ken Ballos.
And you look him up, friend him, and get his announcements. And every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time, he goes on live.
And my buddy here, he's got to have a breathing treatment and a cup of coffee with KB. So that's a fun thing. But now let's get back into the paranormal.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. What do you want to ask me? And I'm going to do my best to answer for you.
I'm just, when I talk to somebody who's in the paranormal, I want to hear all about your experiences, the things you've seen. What does Paige say? Paige Rockwell said, I keep freezing my phone. It's possessed by evil spirits, I can tell.
Blame him. Blame me.
Are kidding.
I got nothing to do with it. Yeah, blame him, guys.
Kenny's got nothing to do with that, Paige.
Not a thing.
So, have you ever? I saw a question come up, and I didn't know if it was, tongue in cheek or not. Right. Have you ever encountered the spirits of, for lack of a better term, famous people? Like you talked about Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy. There was a Robert E. Lee. Didn't he retire in Richmond?
He retired, but he moved up to Arlington. And when he passed away, the government took his land and moved him off his land. It is now Arlington Cemetery. That was his homestead.
Okay. Well, have you ever encountered anybody like that? Have you ever encountered
I've seen things that I can't explain. And I've seen things that I know I didn't take pictures of it, didn't put it there or anything like that, or didn't do any CGI on the film or anything like that. I've seen Confederate soldiers. Who they were, I couldn't tell you. I'm not going to say they lie to you. I'm not going to tell you it was Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, or Pickett. I don't know who it was. But I've seen things that, I've seen things. I'm not gonna tell you that I saw it, I didn't, but I've seen things, Confederate soldiers and things like that. I'm the type of guy I'm gonna tell you like it is. If I would have saw Robert E. Lee, I probably would have took my hat off and saluted him. One of the greatest generals of all time. And people said he was a slaveholder. No, he wasn't. He was a genius war guy. Even to this day in history, Robert E. Lee, the government still studied his war plans. That's how great this guy was. I mean, he was a genius. He was a smart guy. But anyway, no, I've never seen any historical people like that, and yet, not yet. But I got a long road to go.
Sure.
So, you know.
Now, what do you think about the whole evil spirits and demonology question that's out there? Because I hear lots of explanations for what that is. Some people will claim it's demons, demonic in a Judeo-Christian sense. Others will say, no, there's just evil spirits out there. There's evil entities that are different from ghosts, maybe even different from spirits. There's something.
Well, you got to be careful, Scotty. I tell people, if you believe, and you believe in good and evil, and if you know your Bible, that the demons were cast out of heaven, and that domain is right here on earth. Now, if you lost a loved one and you're grieving and grieving and grieving, and say a demon somehow feels your grief and wants to enter your soul or make you feel even worse, could a demon say? Could it make you see a small child that you lost? Could it have that little mummy sound when it says mummy in your brain? Is it a child? I don't think it's a child. Sometimes I think it's some type of a demonic evil thing that's trying to end this person's grief and trying to take control of the body and the mind. I mean, that's just me. That's my belief. So you can't hold me to that. But that's my belief. And I believe that demons walk this earth. And I used to tell people, when I was a cop, if you knew was with the courts in the state of Virginia, released from jails and released from the courthouse, you would go home in the evenings and you would lock your doors and you would not go outside at nighttime. I mean, I can say this because I know what the courts let out. I've seen them walk the streets. I know who they were. And if you had a half a brain to you, you would go home at night and lock your doors and wouldn't come out. That's just me.
Sure.
That's evil walks the streets, guys. Believe me. It walks it every day.
So, Rudy, have you been able to help solve or recover or help ghosts? Do you have any stories where, now you being a cop, have you ever had stories where you maybe asked questions because you knew a crime had taken place?
Well, yes,
or an old crime, a cold case.
Many years ago, when I was a police officer, we had a shooting in Henrico County, and the guy that did the murder, they didn't know who did it. All they know, this guy has been shot, and we had to go do an eviction of a property in the city of Richmond, and so we went down there, did the investigation, and I walked in this old house up downtown area around 5th Street. It just had a weird thing about it, just weird. And I felt like somebody was trying to tell me something. I kept walking around, and I would go in the house before we let the people in, and I would have to clear the house.
Okay.
And so I would go in, make sure nobody's hiding, clear the house, make sure it's safe and all that, make sure people could enter the home without being shot or anything. So after I would clear the house, I was standing in this one room. I said, all right, guys, what's going on in here? And I heard something in my mind say, gun. Gun.
Gun.
I said, gun, G-U-N. I'm thinking, gun. I mean, what the hell? Why am I thinking gun? Well, to make this story short, me being a cop, you read people. It's a thing that you learn over the years, how to read body language, read expressions, read your eyes, bored. Interesting. Yeah. The whole 9 yards. So this girl come up here, and I've seen this girl before, and I kind of knew her. I said, wait a minute, I know you. What are you doing in this house? And why are you back in this house when we're evicting it? We're cleaning this house out. Anything in this house is going with us. And she said, well, I got to get something out of the closet. No, you're not going in the closet. So when she said she kept wanting to go to this closet, I told the other officer, I said, stand by her, don't let her leave yet. Something's coming up. I opened the closet doors. There was a shirt with blood on it. There was a sock in the corner with blood on it. And under the shirt was a gun.
Oh.
The gun was under the shirt. And so I questioned her because she wanted to go in the closet, get that little duffel bag, and the stuff was in there. And you have to go into your cop mode. And I told her, well, you convicted felon, blah, blah, blah. I can charge you for possession of a weapon. And I said, we'll take it to the lab and have it worked onto it and find out who it belonged to, whose fingerprints it is. Well, anyway, she hid the gun from this guy that did a murder out in Henrico County. Shot the guy and killed him. And she told me who killed it, who was the guy that did it, the whole 9 yards. So by hearing this one thing in my head, but somebody kept saying gun. And I heard it plain as day, gun. And was that the spirit that died, trying to tell me that the guy ran upstairs, threw his stuff in the closet, shut the door? She knew it was up there. But she turned evidence on him because, I could have charged her for harboring a fugitive, a guy that committed murder. She's a felon, being around a gun. So she got scared and spilled the beans. Do I think it was some type of entity that spoke to me in my brain? Yeah, I think something told me gun, kept telling me gun. And, every time I'd go to that room before I even went to the closet, it was just a weird feeling. Could have been a spirit telling me in my head, gun. And by me locating that gun, we solved the homicide.
That's pretty cool. Now, how did that go down officially? Did you get any?
No, when you do a job like that, you don't get no accommodations. I've delivered a baby, didn't get accommodations out of a toilet. I mean, I delivered a girl that came in the bathroom one night at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was working off duty at a Hardee's, doing off-duty police work. She came in, I delivered the baby. While I was delivering my baby, my partner went in the kitchen and he was eating bacon. So I called him out and told him I need your shoestrings. I stole the shoestrings, got the kitchen knife, cut the umbilical cord, tied it up, pulled the baby, did the whole 9 yards. And so he didn't want to do nothing. He just didn't like blood. He didn't want to do it. So when he turned his back to me, when the baby's already out, the baby cried. I hit it 4 or 5 times before he finally cried. And he thought he was going to hold the baby. No. You didn't want to help me? I said, the ambulance is on the way. Hold this. He thought he could hold the baby. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I put the placenta in his hand like he's holding a baby. Hey, you do things like that when you're a cop.
That's pretty crazy.
Yes, but I paid him back.
We've only got a couple of minutes left with the radio audience over at Odyssey Radio. We have to cut out in about 2 minutes. So if you can stick around after the break, I know you've got to be up early and doing some.
That's okay, but I can do this. If the people are interested and I'm not boring them and everything is going good and they want me to be back, I'll come back. I can do this.
I think people will stick around to hear some more. And we'll bring some callers in during the maybe some people want to come on and ask questions.
I'll do my dangest.
We don't need such. Yeah, we don't need so much people telling their stories. We can do that any night of the week, or stories or accounts you have. But you have some questions for Ken. Let's do that. And Ken, before we go off on the radio again, we've got about a minute left. Tell people the best place to find you, the best place to listen and join you in your show.
Yeah, like I said, right now I was on a 2-year hiatus because of the China virus and all that. But another week or so, I'll be going back to the radio station, and just go to my Facebook. I'll be posting it. You'll be able to listen to the show from the studios. You can watch the show live from the radio station, and we'll be simulcasting also on Facebook Live. So you can watch it from the studios. And when we go to commercial breaks and all that, you can actually see what we do behind the scenes. So
right on.
It's a fun show. So
that'll be fun.
Go to Ken Ballos, RIP, on Facebook. Friend me if you want to become a friend of mine. We can talk texting, or we can talk messenger. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not much on texting. I'm a people guy. I like to do
Yeah.
a video chat with you so I can see you and read your expressions and the whole 9 yards.
That'd be fantastic. Ken, you hang on with us. Everybody else, this is the end of the radio show over at Odyssey Radio. We're going to send you on your way, but you can just stick around. If you're watching this in video simulcast, come on over to the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. Join what the audience has dubbed the Captain's Cabin. And so for our radio audience, I just want to say, you know what? Live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
Well, avast and ahoy and all that garbage out to sea. Climb the mizzen mast, you've joined the captain's cabin. Get down below and swab the deck now. But stay out of the poop deck. Welcome back to the show, folks. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being here for the radio program and for sticking on. We've still got Ken Ballos over here. Ken, welcome to the after show, the Captain's Cabin.
Glad to be here. I'm going to hang around a little bit and see what you guys talk about. And, we'll do it. Yeah.
Everybody was asking me, can't you go longer than an hour? Can't you do 2 hours?
I'm
not doing 2 hours. And I said, it's just too taxing, too much time. So I started the after show, the Captain's Cabin, after the hour of radio. You know what? We end up going an hour every night anyway, beyond. Right. So I do 2 hours every night. And we'll see how long I'll last tonight. I'm actually not feeling tip-top. I ate, my wife will go up and she'll load up on at the Quick Trip. Load up on hamburgers, the pre-made gasoline station hamburgers and the chicken sandwiches and stuff, and she'll put them in the refrigerator for the kids. So if they're hungry and we decide to forget to make them dinner, they always have something to get. No, we're not that neglectful. There's times you go, look, we're not cooking tonight. Go warm up one of those burgers for yourself. Well, I opened up the fridge tonight. Everybody's gone at scouts and doing things. And there's a sandwich in there, and it's a cheeseburger. And I went, I'll just eat that. It's quick. It's easy. I don't have to cook. So I threw it in the microwave. Then I took cucumbers. I had a big fresh cucumber, a big one. It's like a watermelon almost. And I cut that. Maybe that was the problem. But I cut that thing up into a couple of slices, put it on the cheeseburger, threw on a little mayo and hot mustard, spicy mustard and ketchup. And so I'm ready to go. I'm raring to go. And I ate that thing. I took a couple of bites and I went, does that taste funny or is it just me? Right. And so I ate the whole thing. And now I was sitting down here just as the show was starting an hour ago and went, oh, man, I hope I don't like toss my cookies on air or something. I'm not feeling good in the stomach. So we'll see how well I last here. I got a little stomach thing going on right now. And folks over there in the chat room, I'm going to ask your opinion. Now, most of you, I know, I see you on a regular basis here. There's some people that have never been to the show that I know. And we let them come on air. We've got somebody, and Pearson Castile, East Southwest Missouri. And he wants to come on the show. Now, we've had enough people that are totally foreign to this show that we've let on the show. And they've done some things where we have to go, okay, we got to take you right out. And, you? That's happened to you too?
No, I'll say you brought somebody on the show. I said, you got me.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know Ken. So, let's see. So I may let him in to try a call. And if he's legit, we'll keep him. If he's not, we'll dump you. So he said, spirits and demons. This is what he wrote. I had written to him in the chat room and I said, you can come on and ask some questions. I don't want people calling in to tell your own stories. I want you to talk to Kenny while we got him. But he said, spirits and demons are real. Being blind, I'm sensitive to these kinds of things. I notice things like energy changes and the feelings of those around me. Maybe Pearson, you stick around, and maybe after Ken has to leave, if we don't use him the whole hour, maybe we'll bring you in and talk about that a little bit.
If not, there's always next week.
There's always next week.
There you go.
So Rudy Kessler asks, he says, does anyone else, or do you, Kenny, ever feel like something or someone is with or watching you and may have even saved you from something? Now, you're a cop. You've been in a lot of situations in your life. How would you answer that?
Yeah, I've been in investigations and I had a feeling that someone was watching me, eyeballing me, and you get a feeling like this is not right, because you usually don't feel like that when you're on your normal day routines. Yeah, I've had that feeling that someone was watching me. And like I said, again, I go back to intuition. Like I said, when I go to the door, sometimes even the call might not be a bad call, but all of a sudden something tells you stand on the side, and a bullet go through. A couple bullets go through the door. Yeah, you got to listen sometimes, even if your inner feelings. Yeah, you listen to them. If you think somebody's watching you, it probably is. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, yeah, I believe it.
All right. I want to ask this. Maybe this sounds really weird. It's a weird question, but it's one I want to ask you only because we've got you here and past experience. Have you ever had anybody that you have either arrested and they've passed away? And I'm not asking you to talk about this in great detail, but I've got to ask this since I got you here. Maybe somebody you've had to respond in violence to somebody and they're no longer with us. Have you ever had anybody? What's that?
Yeah, I've had things. I know what you could say. Have we ever seen anybody that passed away? Yes, we have. I've had a couple of those experiences. I'll just give you a short story. One guy, they brought him from Washington, D.C. big guy. I'm saying 6'2", maybe 400 pounds, muscular. I mean, he wasn't fat. He was just big. This guy would look at you. And if you ever seen evil, and like I said, I'm a cop. I've seen all kind of looks, get all kind of stares. This one guy looked at me coming through the court system. And when he looked at you, it's like he was pure evil, hell. He would actually give you the shivers. Like
how would you describe that? Was it in his gaze? Was it in his
gaze? Yeah, the way he looked at you. His eyes wasn't like yours or mine. They were black. They had no soul in his eyes. This guy was a mass murderer out of DC, and they brought him down to Virginia to help solve a crime. But this guy was so evil looking. And when he stared at you, I mean, he just didn't stare at you. He looked like he was looking in your soul. And he had the most evil look about his eyes. You can't explain it. I mean, it's just, you can't explain it. It's a thing of looking at death or looking at something you're not supposed to see. When you look at a man's eyes, you should see some pupils at least. But this guy
is this somebody that you saw after he died?
No, this I'm just giving you an incident.
Okay.
But that's how evil is out here. You know.
Okay.
But yeah, we had a guy down at the Ballos that died. He was murdered, and we went down there, to investigate the scene, and he had maggots and everything falling out of his body. We went to pick an arm up, his arm fell off. Went to pick him up this way, his chest would cave in on you. I mean, it's a stink you'll never forget. Like, it gets in your nostrils. You keep it there for days. You keep it for days, even months. When this guy, and he was laying there, he was eyes wide open. And about a few weeks later, my partner and I were going down in the same area. It's a dark, secluded, under the railroad tracks. Big tracks go across the top, and there's a lot of hobos and all used to live down there. And we were going there one night, and we were parked on a corner, and we looked to our left, saw this guy standing there, the same guy, and I'm telling you, it was the same guy that we picked the body up, just standing there. And we cut the engine on to go over there and see who it really was, and we did. It was nothing there.
Wow.
I mean, that's a weird feeling.
Now, you say that's a weird feeling. I was just going to ask you, what does that do to you when you see that? This isn't just like running into the anonymous, get out. Where's my mom?
If you're honest and you're regardless, you're a man, badass, whatever. I don't care who you are. I taught self-defense for 30 years, so I might be small, and people look at me and I smile at them because you don't know me. First of all, now, I don't
small but mighty.
No, what I'm just saying, I don't carry myself like that. I know a lot of guys that taught martial arts in the academy, and they carried themselves like they were badass. Well, I never carried myself like that. I'm just down to earth, easygoing, and all else. But I would tell you, don't let my smile confuse you, and don't put me in the corner, because somebody's coming out the corner, and you're not gonna like it. And that's all I would say. But yeah, that evil, guys, is it scared the hell out of me. I'm not gonna lie. I would hate to think if this guy busted them damn handcuffs, what he could do. I mean, he was scared the hell out of me. I'm not gonna lie, guys. That's the only time in my life as being a cop that I looked at somebody's eyes that scared the hell out of me. And knowing what I know, and usually I know what I know, I'll look at you even before anything happens. I know what I'm gonna do to you. I'm 4 steps ahead of you. But this guy, I was thinking, if he busts loose, what the hell am I gonna do? I mean, that's what I went through my mind. This guy was so evil looking, man. It's just, my mind wouldn't even function right. Because like I said, when I go into a situation, I got to size a guy up. I know that might be trouble, or we might have to do something. I'm always looking at your eyes, and I'm see your hands. Even though I'm looking at your face, I see what your hands and feet standing, what you can do. So I'm 4 steps ahead of you to do what I got to do to you to take you down to get you under control.
Right, I'll bet.
So once you're under control,
I'm sure that's what you have to do.
Yeah, so once you're under control, it's all over. It stops. You take care of him or her, whatever, and it's done. Yeah, but this guy here made me think, what the hell am I going to do? That's how evil he was. It made my mind think, well, what would I do? Would I run? I mean, this guy scared the hell out of me, man. I mean, and I'm not ashamed to this day to say it. This is over 30 years ago. I've thought about this guy time, but that evil look. I mean, it's not just looking; it's the way he stared at you. and he lock it on your face. I mean, really, guys. I mean, it really is.
Arlene Gaunt says, "Yep, I used to work in a jail, and I saw that look in the eye of pure evil in one guy's eyes, soul chilling."
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. It makes you think that. And I said it all the time. You got an evil walking this earth every day, and if you knew what the courts let out walking these streets, guys and girls, believe me, especially if you live in the inner city, you would lock your doors at night. You really would. It's not the same world that him and I grew up in, where we get nighttime, we leave the doors wide open.
Even in our lifetimes, it's changed so much.
I've seen so much change in the last 5 years, and I talked about it on my other shows. And you have it right, guys. I mean, listen up. Don't be blind. You see, but you don't see. So, just follow your instincts. If it don't feel right, get the hell out of there. That's my opinion.
Now, you have done a lot of paranormal investigating. You've had a lot of experience in that realm. And so what do you run into a lot more? Is it for lack of a better way to characterize or to pigeonhole them, do you run into your, like more common ghosts, that are a little lost, that need, and you get sometimes to get out? Do you run into, how very often do you run into what we would call your darker aspects, your demonic or your evil? And what do you do with that when you run into it?
Well, I don't like to use the word evil. I try to stay away from the word evil. I really do. I've run into some things that, first of all, I got to tell you, Richmond Investigators of Paranormal did what we did. We're investigators. We investigated as a crime scene. We try to get all the evidence, because we don't want to look like fools. And the thing is this, guys, when you investigate a haunting, treat it like it's a family member. Don't go in there and act like a fool. Don't be going there screaming and acting like a nut. Treat this investigation as a family member has passed, and that you're trying to find out what they need. So a lot of people are going in and start downing them and all that. And that's your last resort. If you're at the end of the night, nothing's happening, you might want to say, "Hey, you SOB," or whatever. Try to get something to happen. I've no guys to do that. So that's normal. But I'm talking about going in right away and talking down to it. And if you talk like that, you're not gonna get a response.
Right. Right. That's. I think we forget that. Like I used to say, tongue in cheek, ghosts are people too. They act out of volition. They have their own self will. They want to talk to you, they'll talk to you. If they don't, they won't. If they're pissy, they're pissy. If they're happy, they're happy. Have you run into, people have this thing in their mind that ghosts are always, they're always, ooh, it's scary and it's spooky and it's going to make you shake. But have you ever run into the happy ghosts?
I've never had a happy ghost. I've never known anybody who's been deceased who's a happy guy. I'm not gonna lie to you. So most of your paranormal activities, it's almost a poltergeist type of activity, where it's the noisy ghost. That's what poltergeist means. They're trying to get your attention. They want to be seen or being heard.
Why do you think they want our attention?
Maybe they need help. Maybe something happened that they want us to know about. That's going to bring us to the story I got for you here shortly. It's coming up. This envelope. This will tell you why. And so like I said, you got to listen and put yourself in that situation. That's like Scotty and I. We're talking business, and him and I will have a multi-million-dollar business together. And we're standing out under this new building. And we're talking, and it's very, very important to Scotty and I. We gotta wrap this deal up. We're gonna make millions. All of a sudden, this big old wall of bricks fall out and hit us in the head and kill us instant. Now, we died instant. Is our spirit standing on the street corner still trying to discuss our business?
Might
Think
be.
about it. Might be. You
I'm
don't know.
still waiting for your answer, Ken.
Sign it right here, brother. I see you got Val on here. She said,
Val, she asked Ken, what would he do if a spirit sat down beside him?
Well, that's gonna be part of the story. But I will say this: what the F? Yes, sir. And I will tell you about that a little bit. That's part of the story. Yeah, it happened to me at this investigation. And like I said, I don't like to use the word evil, but
Okay.
this investigation that we did was so evil. And like I said before, I've been on my television show, Paranormal Talk Television. We had guests come on, and we had a live television show, and
Sure.
it was on Comcast, Verizon, cable TV, and we would have guests come in and tell their hauntings. We had guys from the Hangar One TV series, uh, Area 51. They would come in and do a live show
Yeah.
about UFOs, different things like that. Well, anyway, the story I'm going to tell you guys in a few minutes, but obviously we're going to take some more questions. It's one of the most evil places I think I've ever investigated. Yeah, if a place was evil, it was this place that I got this from, and you'll be surprised where it came from.
Okay.
Too.
And it'll be interesting. I'll ask you when the time is appropriate.
Yeah.
If that's something you took from that place, is that something you think still holds energy?
Nobody wants it but me.
We'll talk about that when we get to your story.
We will. We'll talk about this.
All right. Let me ask you this question. I used to do radio with Rocky Stucci a lot,
Right.
and he would sometimes do these kamikaze attacks on me on air that were meant to be fun and funny and disarming, because I'd be talking about ancient history. He'd go,
Right.
yo, Scotty. He'd say, now I'll ask you in Rocky's voice, Kenny, let me ask you, you got any Italian in you? No? Okay, well, I'll just pretend, okay? So Kenny.
You're talking to me.
Yeah, talking to you.
Talking to me. Yeah.
So Kenny, so you ever have sex with a ghost? If a ghost came in and wanted to have sex with you, would you do it?
You sound like you're trying to break my balls. You breaking my balls? Huh?
I'm breaking your balls.
Okay.
Breaking your balls.
No, I did a show one time on 102.9 FM. This girl wanted to talk about having sex with an entity. And I was like, wow, now how am I gonna do this show? Because we got kids watching, and, listening to the show, and and having sex with the ghost, and this girl went into it like it's all right. So I try to make sure I kept my hand on the button in case I need to get that 30-second delay to get her off air. Well, anyway, yes, this girl came on the show one time, and she alleged she had the best sex she's ever had with a ghost.
Wow,
the best. She said she's yet had a man that could satisfy her like a ghost.
Now that's interesting.
And she was diehard adamant about it. I mean, she said the sheet would be pulled off at night. Her legs would actually be grabbed and spread apart, and this ghost would jump on it and pull the sheets over the head. I mean,
no innuendo there.
Huh? I know it wasn't me. I was at the studios, so she couldn't blame me. It wasn't me. I was at the studios, but I was like, wow.
Pearson wants to know, where do you find a girl like that?
I hope not too often, because that ghost is better than I. There's a family show, I won't go there, but wow, yeah.
I have to honestly say, I don't think that I know of. I've never had sex with a ghost. I would think that a ghost would have to be putting out an awful lot of energy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, man, this show, I did a show with this girl, and she was so entertaining. The thing was, but and the way it was like, it's almost like doing when I was back at DC, when I was at DC 101, when we did I interviewed a porn movie star, and it was like asking her questions, and this girl was feeding stuff to us. I was like, wow, I got to keep it straight, because we got families on here listening to this. We go to commercial break, I would talk to her on the phone and say, look, you got to keep this down. You can't be using these words. We do have small children listening to the show. But it was a very, very entertaining show. I'd be the first one to tell you I was amazed. I was amazed, but no, I've never had any type of sexual experience with a ghost, and hope I never do. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you
Well,
gotta laugh
Valerie
about it. Come on,
says
guys.
that's well. You have to. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
I'll tell you. And Kenny, I've never told you this story on Morning Coffee, and my listeners have heard it before. But there
Right.
was, and this is a long time ago. This is right after the time I met Rainey, and
Mhm.
so we're talking 17, 18 years ago. And
Right.
there was a young woman from the festival who came over to have coffee with me on a Saturday morning in
Mhm.
my office in my house. And she had long red hair, went all the way down to like the middle of her butt. So
Mhm.
that's just, I'm setting the stage here. Now,
Right.
nothing,
I'm getting the figure. I'm getting the picture, brother. Go ahead. I
now
got it all straight.
nothing happened between us. This is an important cog in the story. Nothing happened between us. There was no sexual contact. There was nothing like that happened. And we were just talking all day.
Right.
And I got up at one point to go to the bathroom. Now, this house I lived in, notoriously haunted. We found
Right.
through, and as once Rainey came in my life too, we established a lot of things in that house. But
All right.
I
Well,
go through I go through the dining room, which is a bedroom for my son now, and I go into the back hall, which leads to the master suite. And
mhm.
as I go through there, I feel about halfway through my son's room, I feel whoosh, like a wall of cold that I just walked into. And I thought, wow, that's extraordinary. And I went into the bathroom and I go to relieve myself to have a commercial break.
Right. Right.
And
Understandable.
as I'm getting ready to dispense, I'm like, what is that? And I feel, and there's a hair, and I pull it, and there's a long red hair all wrapped around my junk. And
But
I
she's
pulled
good.
it, and it
She's good,
unraveled
brother.
as it did it. And
She's good.
I went, wow, that's good. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, she's good.
But there's a hair that long. And
Yeah.
I thought, and I remember at the time I'm standing there in the bathroom with this long hair I've just unraveled, and I go, that's very funny. I said, like that. So that's the closest I think I've ever come to
Yeah.
any kind of activity like
I
that.
hear you. The girl's good. What can I say?
Yeah, yeah. What can you say? So
I'm not going there. You got to
I
figure
will say, Rainey has really long, dark brunette hair.
Uh-huh.
That's one of her great features. That just
Yeah.
big mane of hair.
Yeah.
But I've never had a hair like that one. That was actually wow. It was like somebody wound it up, and I never felt it happening.
Yeah.
There was
You
no
know,
way.
did you,
How
you
did it
should have
get
asked her
in
later,
my pants?
how did you do that? How did you do that?
Yeah. How'd you do that?
Wow.
Show me again.
Yeah. How did you do it? Yeah. Wow.
So yeah. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So
That's wild.
anyway, anything? What kind? You have any experiences like that you would say? I didn't want to tell that one because it was maybe a little questionable, a little too adult.
Yeah.
You're
You
free
know,
to talk. You
if you
got
told
anything
something
like
like that, somebody will probably call you a liar. I mean, you know, yeah, I mean,
I don't care.
had it here. You know, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, you know, no, I haven't had that happen to me. You know, like I said, my paranormal investigations were usually, you know, trying to get the information. What does this party need? We didn't cleanse. That's one thing we didn't do. We didn't cleanse at the end of the night. A lot of these groups would come in
Oh,
and say,
sure.
we're going, we're cleansing. If you don't know what the hell you're doing, don't do it. Don't go in and act like you're a clergy and try to cleanse a
Right.
place. I'm going to send them back to the light. No, you're not sending nobody back to the light. You know,
No.
let the clergy handle that. Do not go in and say, I'm going to send you to the light. And I tell people, be careful what you ask for, because you could get something. You could get something and you can't get rid of it. I'm telling you. I've never had an attachment. Had a couple of guys on my teams that alleged they had attachments, became ill and sick. One of my buddies that comes on these shows in the mornings, Terry, was sick for a few weeks, said that he had an attachment. So, you know, I've never had that. I guess you got to be kind of strong will or either weak mind. And maybe my weak mind didn't want to attach to it, you know? Say, hey, we ain't no sense attaching this guy. He ain't gonna do nothing. He's halfway nuts. So don't even mess with him. Leave him
Yeah,
alone.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the way I
Well,
look
that's
at it.
interesting. Interesting. Well, I know you've got to get up tomorrow. I've had you for an hour and a half here. Give us some parting wisdom, Ken, and tell people once again where they can find you.
Yeah. My parting wisdom is, guy, and I'll tell anybody, and I just said it, so you heard it. My thing is be careful what you do and be careful what you ask for, because you can get something you cannot get rid of. I'm telling you,
There it
you don't
is.
want to be riding down the road and look in your mirror and you see somebody sitting back there smiling at you. You don't want that to happen. Believe me.
Not at 85 miles an hour down the freeway. I do
Never.
not.
Not in the dark road somewhere, and you picked up what we call a hitchhiker, an
Yeah.
attachment.
Has that happened to you?
That's happened to my buddy of mine.
Okay.
He said he damn near flipped his car, ran to the ditch and everything. He said he looked in the mirror, there was a guy sitting in the middle of the seat smiling at him, and he knew he was the only one in the car. And so I tell people, just be careful what you ask for, and
I guess.
don't go out there and try to play a super paranormal investigator and go out there and play clergy. Oh, I've done it before. No, don't, you guys. And I tell anybody that's got a house that's haunted or a building or whatever, and you want to cleanse, don't call a paranormal investigator to cleanse your house. Call a clergy, a priest, or something
Yes.
that could do this, not the average Joe. And I'm your average guy.
I will tell you all, if you are a Christian or
Yeah.
a biblical Christian, you live your life, you claim Christianity. Even Jesus himself said in one of the Gospels, he said, and if any of you has a house with an evil spirit in it, call the priests to
Yep.
cast him out. Then that evil spirit, he said, will go out into the highways and the byways and will gather 7 more spirits stronger than itself and bring
Yep.
them back to your house. And
Yep.
when he does this, you're going to have to go through a lot more. In his language and context, he said, then you're going to have to start all over again. You have to call the priest. So even Jesus himself,
Yeah.
your Savior, if you are a Christian, said, houses have evil spirits. And you can have them cast out, but call the priest to do it.
You do that, guys. I mean, take it from not just from me, from Scotty did the same thing. We had a guy who was go, man, I thought this was funny. He's gonna cleanse the house. He's gonna keep the evil spirits from coming into the house. His philosophy was he heard if you take salt around the house, it would keep the evil spirits away. And what does this guy do? Now he's investigated this house tonight. I'm over there doing Scotty's house. I'm investigating it. I'm gonna keep the evil spirits, Scotty, from bothering you. I'll go in there and get my more salt. I'm pouring around your doors, around your baseboard, everywhere in the house. Now, what did this dummy just did? He didn't do it outside the house, keep him from entering the house. He put it around your baseboards, your doors, your bedroom, everywhere. I mean, he salted the whole inside of your house. He locked them in the house with you.
Nice. Thank you very much.
They're not coming in, but they're not going out either.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
Ken, I
Yeah.
almost forgot. Daniel just said, tell the story about the envelope.
Who wants to hear about the envelope? Who wants to hear it?
Before I let you go, I want to hear it. I forgot
Okay, I'm
about
gonna tell you
that.
about it. Okay. This happened, I'll say about maybe 10 years ago. I was at home one night, phone ringed about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I answered the phone. Some guy on the other end of the phone was crying. I'm thinking, who in the hell is this calling me this time of the morning crying? He said, they grabbed me by my ankles. They put me out the bed. They smacked me. And my first thing is, well, call the cops. They pulled you out the bed and by your ankles and they smacked you. He said, you don't understand. You don't understand. I can't see them. They're torturing me. Well, I sit up at the bed and got like, well, I need to talk to this guy. And I said, well, let me ask you a question, guy. Are you on any type of psychiatric medication? Are you taking any? Are you on doctors taking drugs? Are you drinking? He says, I'm not drinking. I'm not on drugs. I'm not crazy. I said, did you call any other paranormal groups in the area? He said, yeah, they made fun of me, told me I was crazy. Go see a psychiatrist. Well, this guy was crying, a grown man in his 40s, crying. I mean, you could tell when the guy's crying, the guy's fake. This guy was really crying. And I told him, I said, I'll tell you what, when I get up in the morning, me and my partner meet with you. We'll come in there and talk to you, see what's going on, see if we can help you. So I said, look, you try to go to bed, try to get some sleep, you know. If you're too scared to go back in the house, go down to the drugstore down the street or whatever, just sit there for a while and just get out of there for a little bit. So the next day, my former partner who used to be on the radio station with me, him and I went to meet the guy. His house was a house built back in the turn of the century. The house next door was a pre-Civil War house. So it was only two houses on Monument Avenue here in the city of Richmond. And you got to think Monument Avenue now is all grown up. I mean, you know, but back in the day, that was a farm. Monument Avenue wasn't nothing but open fields and plows, and where the Robert Lee statue was, that was in the middle of nowhere. I mean, why would somebody put a statue in the middle of a field back? You know, that's what you thought now. But back then, that's what it was. It was an open field. It was farmland. Well, anyway, this guy, we went there and talked to him. We had to make sure he wasn't on any type of psychiatric medication. He swore that he wasn't, that he didn't drink. We opened the refrigerator, make sure he had no liquor bottles in the trash. Nothing. Couldn't smell no alcohol. And the guy, so he sat down and told us what was happening to him. He said, the reason I moved to this house was I could afford it. He said, I can't afford other apartments. They charge me for the sewage. They charge me for the different things that he couldn't afford to pay for. You know, he said, if I had that, I couldn't even watch TV in my house because I couldn't afford the electricity. Well, anyway, that's why he didn't move out of this old apartment. Now, you think of an apartment, you think of probably a duplex. That's probably most guys are thinking about. But you got to put in your mind an old farmhouse, 3 stories tall with a basement. Okay. And back of the house was his entrance to his apartment, straight in the air. He had a bedroom, he had a small kitchen, and a little small living room. Across the hall was another room. They turned into a duplex. There was a girl that used to try to live there, and nobody would ever stay there. Nobody would stay in that apartment next door. He was the only guy in this whole house, from the first floor to the 3rd floor to the basement. He was the only guy that would live there. Everybody else would move out. And he said he knew why they moved out, because the place was haunted. Well, as the story goes, he lived in this old house, and he alleged that they would smack him, drag him at the bed in the middle of the night, pull his sheets off the bed and wouldn't let him sleep, slam his refrigerator doors. He said all his utensils would be swung out in the floor at night. And so, you know, I told the guys, well, we'll have to help, see if we can help this guy. You know, see what we can find out what's going on with this house. And we did a little research, as much as we could on it in the city of Richmond. And like I said, it was built around the turn of the century, with the other house next door, the main house back in, was the old original farm. Well, anyway, Terry and I were going to investigate this house, and we were going to the top of the steps. And you got to remember there, big old house, like a farmhouse. In the back of the house, they made some steps that went almost just like this, straight up. He's on the 3rd level, so you're talking about a real deep incline to get to his apartment. And over to the right on that level is one apartment, and here's a straight ahead. Well, Terry one night, it was alleged that the old man and old woman on the 2nd floor level were banging on the windows. And Terry's a card. Sometimes he'll go like that, tap or something just for the hell of it. So one night he said, I would do this, KB. I said, what's that? He said, he said, tap, 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 tap. And he laughed about it. And as soon as he took a step to go up the steps, something said, back to him. He couldn't believe it. Terry was like, did you hear what I just heard? I said, yeah, do it again. He said, bump, 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 bump. And the thing said, boom, boom, tap. Now, what did I do? I went up the steps. KB can run. I can tell you, KB I wear univols, little tennis shoes like univols. Man, I get traction, I'm gone. So I get up to the top of the steps, and we're talking straight a little bit about that old man and old lady. So we went up there and talked to him and tried to find what the investigation was going on. Then he told us about the girl that lived next door. I said, what about the girl next door? He said, her furniture and all her belongings are still in there. I said, where's she at? He said she left one night and never came back for her stuff. she refused to go back into her apartment. He said he would get off work, come home. She'd be sitting on his couch with the door wide open. Excuse me.
Okay.
She asked him, she said, why are you sitting on my couch? Why aren't you in your own apartment next door? She said, I'm not going back in there. I'm never going back in there. And apparently when she left furniture, clothes, TVs, you name it, was left in the apartment. She left, never went back to get it. Well, we decided we were going to do an investigation to try to find out why she left. So we set up some static night vision cameras and stuff like it into the house. We put the electronic lights in the back, so if something would break the beam, you know, it would go off. Well, that night we investigated. I got a static night vision camera in front of me, shining on me, and so I said, okay, if anything is in this house, and there really is some type of activity going on, have her come have a sit with me, sit by me. Well, the camera was showing, and within 2 minutes, it felt like somebody, and this is the truth, it felt like somebody sat on my left leg. When I looked down, I saw the cushion on the other side of my leg go down. I jumped in the air and said, what the, I did. It scared the hell out of me. And sure enough, we had it on camera where you can see the cushion. He sat on my leg, the cushion's here, the cushion went down.
Oh, man.
It scared the hell out of me. And actually, I could actually feel somebody's cheek or something sit on that one leg. That scared me. So
you felt the physical manifestation.
Yeah, I felt it, and a couple of things. We heard the lights in the back of the bedroom where she lived at. They would pop on automatically, and these are motion sensor lights. You just don't make them come on. You got to break that. Didn't have the clear beam. Always had the red beam, where the entities or things you can't see the beam. So whenever it broke that beam, the light would come on, and so I said, well, I think we had enough tonight. Time to move on. Well, anyway, let's get back to this guy.
The envelope. Yeah,
it's coming. Well, like you said, I'll make a story short. This guy's been on my television show, the whole 9 yards. His attendant was going to have evicted because he came on the show. Well, we told the guy, look, nobody knows this guy, and he didn't say where he lived at, whatever. So the guy let him stay there. Well, anyway, one day the guy was standing at the top of the steps talking to the preacher that lived across the street at the church. He's at the very top of the steps. And I said, these steps are like this, on an angle. And the preacher said he saw a black entity come up from behind him and looked like he shoved him. When this guy fell, and most people fall, they try to grab something when they fall. He said, whatever pushed this guy, his arms went out in the air to his side. He came all the way down and hit the bottom of the ground. And when he did, he laid there, his intestines ruptured, spilt out of his body.
Nice.
The preacher took off his robe, he covered him up. He thought he was dead. Ambulance come and gets him. They sent him to the hospital. They did what they had to do to him. They come to find out, once they stitched him up, a couple of days later, they found out he had colon cancer.
He had what?
Colon cancer.
Okay.
Colon cancer. And so they fixed him up. They sent him home. Terry and I and a few of the guys would go by there, give him a little food, try to help him out. But this guy's taking pictures of orbs. I mean, the story is a long story, so I'm breaking it, kind of breaking it down. I'll come back one night and tell you the whole story. Well, anyway, he came back. He lived in that same bedroom apartment, and that week prior to him dying, 2 days before he died, he would call me and said, man, they're driving me nuts. He said, when I die, I'm coming back. I'm going to fight these entities in this house. A day later, he passed away. And he kept telling me they're banging on my wall that night. He called me and said, they're banging the wall, shaking. And, I said, you want me to come by? I said, no. He said, I ain't gonna be here long. No, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And the wall collapsed at the head of his bed. This envelope fell out. And inside this envelope were these pictures. If anybody knows anything about photography, these pictures were taken around the turn of the century. Let me see if I can get this here for you. The turn of the century. I got a whole collection of them. And on the back of the pictures, it tells you what studios they were in New York and some in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Back in when they took these pictures of these people that lived in this house, And all these bangings all this time were coming from that back wall with his headboard. And like I said, you can see how many pictures of, because I know you're not going to want to look at all of them, if you can see them or not. Let me see. But all these different pictures of the family members and the guys. And sometimes you look at them, they're kind of evil. I mean, I hate to say it like that, and I don't use the word evil. But, you know, you got the family members, and if they see the way they were dressed around the turn of the century. And was one of these family members banging on the walls to get his attention? What else is behind the wall?
Now,
people ask you, what else is behind the wall?
where did the pictures fall out of?
These pictures, he kept telling us the whole time we investigate that when he go to bed at night, the walls, somebody be banging on his headboard behind the wall, bang, bang all night long. And it's I think it's a week or 2 days before he died. Terry verified this little envelope. It's dated back in 1858 to 1880. Back in the envelope. This envelope fell out the wall and it fell on his bed.
Okay.
So he gave me the pictures, and we went by it, and the whole wall most of the wall collapsed, and this used to have the dust on it from the old. It's not sheetrock; it's the old plaster walls with the wood grates in it. But like I said, I didn't get to tell you the whole story about this haunted this place. But if evil ever lived in a home, and he ever lived through evil, he lived in that house. I wouldn't live in it for nothing in this world. Especially the old man. I'll break it up stories real fast. The guy that owned the place had a construction company coming out there, put new siding on the house to make it look more modern. 2 Mexican dudes were out there putting the siding on, and he was coming down the steps to go to work. He said, they said, why is that old man or lady shaking their fist at us? Why are they doing it to me? Go back, tell them we'll be done within an hour or 2. But he said, they're nasty. He said, they're banging on that and shaking the fist at us, old man and old lady. He told them, he said, nobody lives here but me. There's no old man or lady on the 2nd floor. And he said he came back about 10 minutes later, they were gone. Never did finish the job.
Man.
Yeah, never finished the job. There was an old man, old lady on the 2nd floor of that window. And that's the same part where Terry banged on the wall, and he heard taps asking twice. Never did go in that 2nd floor to investigate it. I never did. But I was curious because he told us one time down in the basement, there was a hole in the floor. And above that hole was a noose hanging on the rafters, like somebody was to be hung. I never went down there and saw it, but this is what he allegedly told us, our team members. In that basement, there was a hole dug in the ground. And if you look straight up on the rafters, there's a hanging noose hanging there. I don't know why.
Old? It was old? So it wasn't.
He said, well, he moved in. He said he lived there 5 years before he died. Even before he died, he said it was there when he got there. And I said, Jim, go down there. He said he saw it one time and never went back.
Oh my goodness! So now,
never questioned the owner.
These photos you have.
Yeah.
Have you noticed anything? Lack of a better way to put it, any feedback from that? Have you noticed anything?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Paula. I lock them in a little lock-proof box, like you put a gun in, and it's a real heavy box. And like I said, I got so many pictures of these family members in here, and like I said, the dates on them and the actual studios. I did investigate to find out where these studios are located, and like you said, these are made out of cardboard. And they were shot with the glass. And back then they would shoot it on a piece of cardboard. And like I said, it's like almost like a baseball card. You can see the back. It's got the studios who stamped it on the back and all that. But like I said, everybody knows the thing about pictures now. You don't get pictures on a baseball card. And that's what they used to put them on back in the day.
And they all died. Something fell over. My son was just down here and knocked something.
I hear you.
So,
well, I hate to tell that story fast, but it's a long, drawn-out story, and if I'd have went to it, we've been here for a couple hours of the strange things in that place.
Well, we'll have to.
Terry will tell you. We talked a little bit on the morning coffee one morning, and we talked about it. And I think that day you got off early, and we talked about people asking about that place in Monument Avenue. we didn't give the address enough, but it is on Monument
Oh,
Avenue.
yes. I remember him saying Monument Avenue.
Yeah.
So,
Right on
well,
Monument
we'll have to hear a little bit more about that. Uncle Dave Potter,
Yeah.
he left here about an hour ago. I don't know if he's home yet or driving and dictating. He said, I was just thinking about the fact that I left that extra sword over there, and then I heard it fall over. You know the sound, huh? Yeah, there's 3 swords up against the wall over there, Dave. 2 of them fell. So the
Yeah, and like I said,
are
I do
yours.
appreciate you bringing me on tonight. I've enjoyed it, and I wish I had more time to be with you guys tonight. I mean, I've enjoyed it.
It's all right.
That's just a couple small stories, guys. Like I said, I got so many stories. I can sit up half the night and tell you about some spooky things that's happened to us. I can talk about the Cold Harbor battlefield down in the bottom where
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
Yeah, that's the one where Tina said she felt like somebody put a bullet in her mouth, and they left me in that back room by myself. And then when everybody got scared and ran, what do they do? Everybody's in that back room. And I'm sitting on the bed, my head against the headboard. All of a sudden, she screamed, and everybody leaves KB. They care about the little old man. They all left me, and I'm sitting there thinking, why am I sitting here?
Why am I sitting here all alone?
That's what's in mind. But they will tell you. And I came at that bedroom like this, and they didn't stop in the hallway. You think I'm lying? I ran over top of them, did a top 2 steps on top of the head, and went back down. I'll get out the way. You're not gonna do me like this. But I will take you out. If I get that scared, you're in front of me. Don't get in front of me. I'm gonna take you out.
Well, you get some of these stories prepped. We'll have you on maybe next week again. I don't see any reason we couldn't do that.
We'll get together and talk about it. And if you want me back, and your people that make your show want me back, we'll talk about it. Yeah, we can do that.
You do morning coffee on Saturdays or Sundays?
No, I used to do them on weekends. I used to do them on weekends, but I said, well, people at home on the weekends are sleeping late. When I do morning coffee, most people are getting up going to work. And the ones that are not going to work, and I used to tell my friends, tell your friends, if they're lonely, they're by themselves, nobody to talk to, they ain't got to be like that. They can come on over and have coffee with KB and meet you, meet me, and meet my friends on Facebook, become friends with them. We got Val, she's on that. She does a Myth, Legends, and the Paranormal on Friday night as well.
Yes.
And she sells all kind of neat stuff. And people have been calling her now. She's making pyramids and selling all kind of great stuff. But it's just a way where guys and girls can come on, sit around, talk about anything you guys want to talk about, as long as you don't threaten to harm, disfigure, or kill anybody. I don't care what you talk about. And if I don't know what you're talking about, you're not the only one who can fake it. I can too.
Oh, we can't disfigure? Come on.
Well,
Kenny, thank you for being on. And everybody, I want you to check Kenny out over at Morning Coffee with KB.
Yeah, Facebook Live.
Go check him out on Facebook. He broadcasts it through Facebook right now, but this is a
Facebook
guy with
right now,
many years experience in radio, and he's on a little hiatus now, so he's just doing his live streams.
It's fun doing a live stream. I'm what they call it, a habitual offender of Facebook. I think my number was 10025. I believe that's what number it was when they issued it to me. But hey, I'm okay with that. And I'm telling you guys, all the guys on here that don't know me, KB, if I say something that offends you, it too shall pass. You will get over it.
You'll get over it.
You will get over it. Believe me, you really will.
By the way, hey, Travis Schaefer. I don't see you very often come in. I've known Travis for about 12 years or so.
I'm glad to have you aboard.
You used to work together. Good to have you here.
Yeah.
And once we're done, you can go over to the YouTube page. You can play this show in its entirety. The live chat, however, will be disabled. It won't, and the recorded chat, archive chat, won't appear for about 12 to 20 hours it takes for it to propagate. So you can see the chat. You can watch it without the chat almost right away. So and just listen like a podcast or something.
There you go, like a podcast, yeah. But hey, guys, I appreciate. I didn't see anybody on tonight, or didn't get to see the questions you might be asking. But hey, I'm glad you guys stopped by and to join me And of course, you could join Scotty. That's your man. That's the man with the plan. Too Hotty Scotty, they call him.
Oh,
That's
there
the
it
girls
is.
on the
Yeah.
That's what the
I think
girls
you're
on
the
my
only
show
one
call
that
me.
calls me that anymore.
No. I got to tell you, the girls that tune in my show want to know where's Too Hotty Scotty. So I give him a name, Too Hotty Scotty. Yeah, when he comes on morning coffee, he's Too Hotty Scotty. Yeah.
Sure. Steve Clark, I think the info is just to find him over at his. I'll find the link when Kenny's gone. I'll paste it into the chat room for you, where you can go to his page. So,
Scotty,
Kenny,
you're a great host. Yeah.
Man, you're a good guest. And
I'll
of
tell
course,
you
you
what.
tolerate me on morning coffee. You let me come on to just spew
Hey,
sometimes.
well, I will tell this, and Scott's be the first one. I'll tell anybody. I had a friend of mine in the house and grew up knee-high to a grasshopper. My name was Kenneth. He was Kenny. And I've never used the word Kenny. He's the only guy I think has ever called me Kenny. Yeah, he's the only one that ever calls me Kenny. It's either my old friends that knew me growing up to call me Bubba, because I had a twin brother and they couldn't tell us apart. So they say the Bubbles. So we did that. But like I said, when I did radio and television, I said, well, I got to short this down. People look at my name, Ken Ball. I've been called Ball Ass and Balloo and the whole 9 yards. So I said,
Nice.
somebody talking about my ass and calling me Ball Ass. I was, no, I got to change this. So I've been using the nickname KB, and a lot of my friends now that's known me over the years on radio. They still call me KB. So
well, I have a guest, Elderberry, in the chat room. Elderberry says, yeah, Scotty's quiet tonight. I have a guest. I want my guest to talk. So giving him all the time he can have. But of course, I talk too much on his show. So.
No, but like I said, I'll answer any questions that people want to ask me. I'll do my best to give you an honest answer. But like I said, I'm not going to sit here trying to make myself look good and tell you a lie. That's the last thing I want to do. I'm like this. It's either I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you something to make me look good or make you say it because you want to hear me say that. I'm not going to do that. I got to tell you the fact, the whole cold facts. That's it. I'm not going to beef it up. It's like going to court. That's like going to court.
I like that.
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to write a statement in court out in a long sentence. I'm going to write it short to the point, and that's it. So you can't feed into it, and I can't feed into it. So, like I said, if you ask me to lie for you and tell you make up a story for paranormal, I'm not going to do it. But
okay, hey,
I'll ask you.
I've got a quick question. I know you're on your way out the door from the show here tonight, but Elderberry, who came in kind of late, poses this question as he's saying goodnight to you. He says, KB, do you believe the possibility that science has made human hybrid creatures and turned them loose in the parks and forests? Can you answer that for us in your last minute?
I believe that. I believe that. I don't trust the government.
I don't know.
The government will do anything to try to make a better creature, to fight for them. Do I think they got androids that exist? I think the government got them. I think they're not ready to be put out there yet. Yeah, I do not trust this government. And I tell anybody that. I don't trust them. It's just like the China virus. That's not a normal virus. That's a man-made virus. And I've talked about it before. There are viruses that will eat you from the inside out, eat your guts out, make your nose bleed, your ears bleed, your eyes bleed. And that's a virus, man-made virus. We get the flu every year. Last year it went on hiatus. It took a little vacation.
It did.
It took a vacation. So this year it's coming back. So, like I said, you want to hear more about my rants? Join me for morning coffee.
Maybe next Friday we'll talk about this whole cryptid thing and other conspiracy theories and stuff like that. Let's do that. Let's open it up for next Friday.
You got it. You can do it.
All right, Kenny, thanks for being here. And KB, I'm still not used to calling.
That's all right. That's all right. You call me. I usually answer anything. It doesn't matter.
So I appreciate your taking your time, so much time, almost 2 hours tonight. You were actually sitting in the wings out here for a good half an hour that I saw before we even hit the airwaves tonight.
Well, I want to make sure.
I just want to make sure I wasn't going to miss your show.
That's it. There you go.
There it is. Kenny, you have a good night. Thank you, brother, for being here.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys listening tonight to the show. And I do appreciate it. Scotty, thank you again. You guys have a great night.
You too, Kenny. Drive safe tomorrow. See you later. All right, guys. It was Kenny Ballos. And he graciously gave us almost 2 hours tonight. So there we are then, Beth Kirkham. There it is. You're a little late. Excuse me, I'm a little froggy. My son, what do you got, son, over there? Is that the new ones?
Yeah.
How are they?
You think these ones are better than the other ones?
I can't tell. You're in the dark. It all depends on how they feel for you.
They don't have the lines.
Yeah.
Like the other ones have.
If they feel good, you're good. You're good to roll.
Probably gonna.
The other ones are just snugger, they're tighter. So it all depends on the feel you want to have. Sorry, folks, familial moment. Hang on. So looks good. Looks good with the boots. Just go with what feels good for you. All right. All right. Sorry for that awkward silence. My son is going to the Renaissance Festival tomorrow. He had to try on the new pair of velvet tights that Mom got him for his costume. And he had on a pair of other tights a couple of days. Hey, Flynn, come over here. He doesn't have the whole costume on, folks. He was trying on the pants and the boots. Here, come on over here and stand. People want to see you. There you go. There he is. Here, stand back a little so they can see your tights and your boots. So there he goes. That's just his tight. There's Flynn, by the way, in case you wondered. Tights and boots. Show him the backside of all that. So there you go. That's what he's wearing tomorrow with this white, big, poofy sleeved shirt and a nice maroon and navy blue colored doublet. So good stuff. Hey, bring those swords over here. I'll show those up. You'll see the swords. He's using one of the ones that I have, and we didn't have a scabbard for it. It disappeared. So Uncle Dave, who is I've sword fought with Dave for years. He's a certified sword master. And he brought over a couple of blades. Hold those for a second. This is the one I was going to have Flynn use for the festival. This is a great, it's got to be a little polished up. The humidity in the air will do that. This is the one that was hanging on my wall behind my desk in the old shows. So this sword is just a dueling rapier. And so we didn't have a scabbard. So we called Uncle Dave. And Dave said, well, I got scabbards, but he said, let me show you some of the swords I have too, if he wants a different sword. So this is one of Uncle Dave's swords.
I might use that one.
This is a nice one. This is a nice fighting rapier. So you can see this is a little longer than the other one. So it had a little bit of a reach when you were dueling and you wanted to get out there and make your reach. That had a little length on it, which is nice. Here, I'll give you the scabbard on that one. I'm going to, by the way, unplug my sound. Pardon me. Remember, we're off air now, so we can do whatever we want. So that's one of the swords Flynn might bring with him tomorrow. I think he's going to bring this one. So that's a great dueling rapier. Of course, he's not going to duel with it out there.
We can't take them out.
Yeah, you're not even supposed to take them out of the scabbard at the festival anymore. So let's get this one put away. And I'll trade in. And then this is the other one. It's fairly similar. And another one of Uncle Dave's. So there's that. Not quite. I don't think it's quite as long. Well, maybe it is. So that's that dueling rapier. You can see. And they're lightweight, lighter than you might think. They're built for dueling, very well balanced. And you didn't want your arm to wear off while you're fighting. So these are actually fairly lightweight, a couple of pounds. I'll put this one away. There we go. Give you that one. So those Flynn's going to wear the other one to the festival tomorrow. So there you go. That's 2 rapiers, Scott Allen. So Flynn's going to wear which one? This one out? No, this one.
This, I like,
Oh, this one? You
I
like this one? He's going to wear that one out to the festival tomorrow.
or the one. Or that
Oh, you can wear mine if you want. This one's a lighter, shorter blade than those. This one's got to be polished up too. You can see there's some oxidation on this just from hanging on the wall. This is one of the ones that hung on the wall behind my desk when I was doing radio. So in the old house. There you go. That's such tape. Very cool, son. The pants, it's all what feels good. The other ones look good. I think really good. Does mom care? Yeah. We're the ones that, the other ones are a bit, they're snugger. And so they look really good in what you're doing. These, they work. They're just fine. And they're velvet. So there you go. A gentleman wears velvet tights. So when he bears a sword. So they're the same length, says Dave Potter. That's what I thought. When I had it out, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe it's an inch less, but nah, it was the same length. It seemed like it. So, yeah, Scott Allen, if you go to the Charlotte Renfest, my daughter's Finfolk Productions, my mermaid making tail daughters, they've got a booth out there, a building out there where they've got their Finfolk. So you should stop in and say hi to them if you get out there. So, yeah, it's all awesome. You know, I love putting on the swords and doing the stuff. We haven't done it in years. So, oh, let's see. Oh, here's Pearson. You know what, Pearson? You've been in there. Let me bring you in. If you got a story to tell, are you ready? Does your hair look good? I'm going to bring you in. Here's Pearson from the chat room. Pearson Castile. Pearson, how you doing?
Hey, Scott. I'm doing all right. First newcomer to the show. I'm kind of first time seeing you guys tonight, but very nice show you guys got going.
Cool.
Here. And
Well, thank you.
Kind of interested by your guest speaker here a little bit ago because
Yes.
I was born visually impaired, have been since I was a little kid. I'm completely blind, and I lived in a house that was very similar to the one that was described in Ken's envelope story here.
Oh.
We had a house, and I put a little bit in private chat, in live chat, but I'll just kind of start at the beginning here.
Sure.
Back in the 50s, there was a man, two men actually, that lived in a cabin about, say, 50 feet from where my old house was. And they were brothers, and these two men, and of course, you know, being legend of sorts, stories differ. But these two men, being brothers, were very, you know, spiteful toward each other, had money issues, had familial issues, didn't get along very well. One named Freddie was the more violent of the two, from my understanding, and the other guy named Sylvester was a little more nice-tempered than his brother. And back through the years, and just in case, let me know if my audio is buffering, because I'm on a...
So far, so good. Sounding pretty good.
We had family that had lived there since, you know, early 20th century, before even the 50s, and these family members lived in a field that was sort of adjacent. I would say probably about a half mile by as the crow flies, down in the woods north of the house that I lived in. And, being out in the Ozarks of Missouri, sound tends to carry out here pretty well. So one day, my uncle, who is now deceased, and his friend, who is still alive at this point, were having a bonfire, I want to say probably about 1958, 59-ish, roughly. And they heard a noise that sounded like an animal or something screaming. When they described it, they would always say it was probably the closest thing would be a mountain lion.
Okay.
But they heard this noise thinking, oh, well, it's a mountain lion. We're not going to worry about it. There's a bonfire, we're completely safe. They didn't really think about their neighbors up the hill. And, the next morning, my uncle, being the type of people they were, he rode around on his horse, as kids would do back then.
Sure.
And he had rode up to this man's house just to kind of go up, talk to him, and see what, these guys were up to. Well, and stories really differ here, but when he told it, when he rode up, it was incredibly quiet. It was very, I wouldn't say serene. I would just say more ominous feeling. The feeling you would get if you were in the woods and felt something chasing after you. And he rides up to these guys' house and, cabin, more or less, and, notices, the doors are all open. Everything is completely, disheveled. Everything's messed up in here. The doors are open. Well, he starts to get a little worried, thinking, what exactly was going on. Starts looking around the property for the man. And he found him in a little shed that was about 30 or 40 feet from where this cabin was. He had been, from my understanding, hit over the head with some sort of a blunt object, and, until he was unconscious. Not really necessarily a stabbing, more of just, knocked him out and killed him.
Okay.
And people always thought it was his brother, being that no one really, besides his brother, had a problem with the guy. And, the brother was not to be found. They couldn't find him. And, over the years, my uncle and the family, they stayed around. They didn't really go anywhere. But over the years, people around our family and other people, also neighbors and whatnot, would start to report weird things. There was a wagon train back in the 1800s that went through around our area. You can actually still go out there and find like pieces of wagons out there, wagon wheels and whatnot. But this area was about, I'd say about 200, 300 yards northwest of where that cabin was. And it was always still down there too. But this was about, you could see it from their house down there in the field, this spot where the wagon train went through. And, they say, which I can't really verify anything about this at all, but according to a lot of locals, there was some sort of an Indian, Western type fight go on down there.
Sure.
And, burial grounds, the whole 9 yards of just that whole mythos that tends to surround that type of thing. But that whole area, even outside of my house, that whole area was always just, it was deathly quiet. You could have cicadas and everything buzzing in the front and backyards. But on the west side, you could go like for probably 30, 40, 50 yards, and there wouldn't, be any cicadas, no bugs, no nothing. And there was, plenty of oak trees. There was vegetation. There's everything that you would think would invite, any type of critter imaginable. But no, you could never hear anything from that area, and it was always really, really weird feeling over there. But this really gets into where I started experiencing things. As a kid, I knew that something happened, but I never knew any real details. I just knew that something weird or something bad had happened from overheard bits of conversation.
Right.
Being that this type of thing was a common conversation piece at family reunions and whatnot.
Sure.
I didn't really learn this until, probably about 13, being that I'm, 17, about 18 now. I didn't really hear much about this type of stuff until I was, 12, 13 years old. But I did start to notice weird things. And when I was little, I used to have sleep problems that we could not explain at all through the years. And we always thought it was related to my disability, being blind and whatnot. The, circadian rhythm is basically non-existent at times.
Sure.
But, over the years, there was just this kind of fear that built up, and it would just keep building. When you would walk into that house, you could feel it, and it was more of a presence than an energy, because it had, the more you noticed it, the more it noticed you, sort of thing. And we had a lot of weird experiences. One time, actually, oddly enough, we were sitting there Halloween night, I believe 2011, 2012-ish. I would have been about 7 years old, and the front door blew open. There wasn't any wind, but I just slammed against the wall. It left a little print in the wall, actually. But little things like that, you tend to brush off when that stuff isn't happening back to back.
Yeah, and our mind wants to reason things away too. So
yeah, that is very true. The more you play into that kind of thing, the more it'll affect you. And we, my dad's side of the family believed it. My mom didn't really believe in that stuff. I'm a Christian. Have pretty much Christian ideals, or the whole religion, the Bible, all that type of thing. But we had an energy in that place that was just very oppressive, and it got really bad about 2015 or 2016 when I turned 10 or 11. I had a lot of medical issues because, along with my visual impairment, I have a bone disease that basically your brittle bones type disease. And
sure.
I started to have multiple surgeries. And the more you would have surgeries, of course, the more you're not able to be mobile with this disease. So you're kind of laying in bed. You're not able to do much. And the more and more I would lay in bed, the more and more I would notice weird things, especially energies sort of that would mess with you when everyone else had left the room. When you would be trying to sleep.
Sure.
Imagine the feeling of basically just someone standing over you.
And I can imagine that feeling really well.
Kind of staring right down at your face and stuff. And, being blind, I tend to believe that my senses are a little stronger than most. I don't play into the whole superhero-like mentality that people give being blind, but there are some parts of senses that are more, tuned in. And
so are you saying you're not quite at Daredevil level?
No, I am not quite at Daredevil level, but I do have a pretty strong sixth sense, I feel like. the
Okay.
sense that you would get when people would stare at you,
Sure.
it's like that times 1,000. And at this house, it was really, really bad about that. And when I figured out about this, ghost story about 11, 12, 13 years old, started to piece things together, understand it more. It really took a turn because the more I was trying to figure out about it, the more it would play with you. Like,
Sure.
being a little kid, you are really disposed, or some kids are disposed, including me at that time, to mess around with things that you don't understand as a sort of curiosity. And, to anyone watching, I wouldn't suggest ever playing with something you don't understand what it is, because I've learned very, very quickly that is never a good idea. Because around 13, I started to really EVPs is one thing I'd messed around with as a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
I would really like play into that. I would really try and get EVPs, and I started to get things. And the weird thing about them was the farther along you kept doing that, the more you tend to start to hear things. And at one point, I was like, okay, there's nothing. But then I started to hear things, and I would keep asking questions. That type of thing would keep intensifying. Me giving it the energy by letting it, speak through me. Well, the thing is it was really not a good energy, because this is where it got really out of the ghost type level of, angry spirit to the it's wanting to play with you type level.
Sure.
Of maybe, something darker. And
Something messing with you, yeah.
Yeah. And what ended up happening is I had surgery probably about, I'm going to say 2015. And after that surgery, I was pretty much, not able to walk and stuff. I was wheelchair bound. And
Okay.
at about 13, I started asking questions that really shouldn't be asked to
What? Okay.
something like that, such as say, will I be able to walk again? Will I be able to...
Oh, sure. I see what you're saying.
The type of thing that gives some, I'm being a Christian, I'm a little disposed to think that, there are evil things, and that, those types of things can be influenced. Of course, I do believe in ghosts that can't cross over the line or the light. But what started to materialize at my house, especially, was that, anytime I asked things about the ghost, I feel like there was two presences. One, I think, was the guy that had been murdered, and there was more of a prankster, jokester type ghost, kind of maybe unsettled spirit, but maybe not so much of evil. And whatever the other thing was, kind of channeled itself through the... I feel like the embodiment of this whole Freddy man, which is the other brother that had murdered the guy.
Oh.
I feel like it tried to channel through that, because it knew that I thought that was real, and that is who I thought I was talking to.
Yeah.
And that type of thing, it really came to a close about 2016, 2017. My grandma was diagnosed with cancer, and very, very aggressive, pancreatic cancer, very aggressive form of it. And we had, I had things start to happen, not so much mentally to where it was it was starting to get more physical. I would have doors start to really slam commonly, especially
Sure.
anytime I'm home alone. It was really bad. I would have a rocking chair that would specifically, anytime, the thing that creeps me out to this day is anytime I think about the ghost at that house, the rocking chair would lock.
Does it still do that?
No, thank God.
Okay.
Thank God. But that chair would lock and it would go faster and faster the closer you came to it. And you would just feel something, basically overwhelming despair. And what was really weird is I started to get mental images. Being blind, I can't see things, never have been able to. But I would
Now,
start to.
that would be a question I would ask is how would you now were you when you said you were born for lack of a better word stone cold blind. So
Yeah,
have you ever seen any image? Do you see light? Do you see figures? Do
I
you ever
did
see
see
things?
light and maybe not so much faces as shadows. If you was to move your hand in front of my eyes, I could say something's in front of me, but I
Okay.
couldn't tell you what it is.
All right.
And I would notice little movements in front of me when I was gone, but I would just kind of attribute, or when everyone was gone, but I would attribute it to my brain kind of overreacting,
Sure.
overstimulating is what a lot of people call it. But um, what started to happen is when I'd be asleep or trying to sleep, when I'd be laying down or doing something calm
Mhm.
to where my brain was relaxed, I started to get these weird images in my head. Very, very creepy stuff that was always really unsettling to me because I would start to, um, especially tall figures, very
Okay.
tall figures in the back of my head. Couldn't describe exactly what they would look like, but they were very tall, and every time that image would pop into my head, that chair would start to rock, and it would just go on rocking and rocking and rocking until I eventually,
Interesting.
went
Mhm.
away or did something else. Uh,
Oh, have I got you? Did I lose you? Oh,
there we go. There we go.
there we go. Your mic got muted.
That
So,
was that was a little odd, but yeah, we had weird things happen, and at the end of me, um, at the end of me, sorry, I just got a message from my buddy. A
it's all
little
right.
off topic there, but my buddy is in the middle of Hurricane Fiona right now. But
Oh boy.
so he just reported some trees down, but we had some things happen at the end of when I lived in that house. It
Mhm.
was almost like it started to influence people mentally because people would come in the house and they would get aggressive and they'd get angry and they argumentative was really bad.
Sure.
And um, it was more of a subtle thing after a while that started to happen, and it was just really, really negative. Really negative environment, negative place. And at the end, we moved out, actually not very long ago. We moved out 2 years ago. I would have been
Okay.
about 16 or so. Um, some very weird things happened before we moved out. We would go to our new house to work on it, construction wise. And when you would come back, um, there was always weird uh, coincidences that would just keep rising. I stayed home a lot in
Mhm.
those days because I didn't like sitting in construction. It made me nervous, being that I
Sure.
didn't know what was going on around me all the time and didn't want to get hurt. I stayed home a lot, and we had this and we still do, had this like wardrobe. Think of a big old wardrobe cabinet, pretty tall, 2 doors on it. And it started to slam a lot.
Oh.
When I was gone. And one day, because I always thought it's just the wind doing something outside. I wouldn't go over there to look, to be honest with you. I'd rather not know back then. But one day, me and my brother, and my brother, say, would have been about 13 or so. He can see fully. And one day I heard the noise, and at the same time he looked down into our room, which was adjacent to the living room, and freaked out, got up on the couch and would not get off the couch. I was like, what is wrong with you? What's the problem? And he goes, that thing just slammed shut, opened again, slammed shut and opened again, and it's swinging. And we turned off the TV, and because I didn't believe him. I thought he was messing with me. And you could hear it swinging. But what was weird wasn't necessarily that it was swinging, because I wasn't getting a creepy feeling from over there. The creepy feeling was coming from the bedroom where the rocking chair was, which was the closest where that guy had been murdered. And the minute I think, it's not, whatever it is distracting me down there. The problem isn't down here, it's in there. And the minute I thought that, that chair just slammed against the back of the wall.
Wow.
And,
so what'd you do?
I've since, I stayed on the couch, being a 16-year-old kid faced with that type of thing, probably the craziest manifestation I'd ever seen. I was very, very nervous, so I did basically nothing. I stayed there and I stayed there. I didn't go into either rooms, just kind of stayed in the dining room and the living room, watched TV, sat on the cell phone, anything I could do to get my mind off of it.
Sure.
And I have since deleted any evidence at all that I got from that house, because the one thing that does make me nervous a lot is because that evidence carried something with it. A lot of the time, if you played things back, you would begin to feel it again. Not as strong, but I feel like if I would have kept playing it and would have kept playing around with that, it would have been a lot stronger. And I begin to say, to myself and to whatever was around me, you're not allowed to touch me, influence me, that sort of thing. And ask for blessings from the preacher, to pray with me about that type of thing.
Sure.
And, that stuff began to help over the years. And the one thing I still won't do is I won't play any of those EVPs anymore. I've since
you won't say that again. I lost a bit of your sound. You won't do what?
I don't play the EVPs anymore. Because
okay.
I did at one point when we moved into this house. I played the EVPs one last time just to kind of think about it in retrospect, exactly what I was dealing with. And the minute I did, the energy kind of flooded back to my current house I'm living in now. I started to get depressed in my room. I started to feel shut off from people. I would kind of feel very nervous, very creeped out,
Sure.
and that kind of thing. So for me, the message that KB had said earlier about don't play with something that you don't know exactly what you're messing with.
Right.
That really resonates with me, because a lot of the time people in the paranormal field think that they know exactly what they're doing, think they know exactly what they're going to catch. And even from my experience, I can tell you that my experience is pretty mild compared to some things I've heard. It could have been a lot worse. And
sure.
I really, accept that fact because, at the end of the day, they'll, even to this day, if I leave my phone recording, sometimes I hear footsteps on those recordings, so you can hear
Well,
little things, and it's just like I try not to acknowledge it anymore because
sure.
You can't block it
I
out
get that. That
completely.
makes sense.
Yeah, you can't block that out completely, but your best bet is to try and ignore little. Don't give things like that power. If it's something that you, can affirm, is a family member trying to seek the light, that type of thing. That's the type of thing that I would say. Well, if you feel equipped, maybe try and help them, but don't play with old cases that you maybe don't understand or old.
Man, that makes a lot of sense.
Don't dig up old bones, so to speak.
Yes. Well, I can understand. That's a really interesting story. I think when you do that kind of thing, it's of course always good to know what you're doing, who you're talking to, get experienced people to help you. But man, what a good story. I'd love to have you come back and tell some more of your stuff. Tell us more about things you've encountered. And you're welcome back to come anytime.
Well, it's been an interesting show, and I may come back sometime if you want to come back and talk about radio experiences, because I'm
absolutely
incredibly interested in the radio field. So
okay.
That's another topic, from a new listener that kind of intrigues me. I can tell you already, that's a very intriguing topic, and I would be welcome to just listen to you guys talk about that kind of stuff all day. And
sure. Well, we talk about all kinds of things on this show. We go from paranormal to we do archaeology, we do ancient history, we do spirituality, all of those kinds of things, and we have a lot of fun with it, I think. So.
Well, it's a very interesting show. I can tell you, I was kind of looking around on YouTube, looking for someone to talk to, that sort of thing. Stumbled across the show, and I was just like, "Hey, this is something I might be interested in."
Well, anytime, brother. You plug in over here on my channel, and you will get, and you'll see there's an instant family of people here. I affectionately refer to them as the Intrepids for Intrepid Radio. So, and you'll find a lot of good people here, all of them willing to talk and even talk about our unruly children, says Elderberry. And so there you go. So thanks for being here, Pearson. Pardon my cautiousness at the beginning of the show. We saw all night tonight I had different names of people popping in.
That is completely understandable, man, because I tell you, the the hackers and the wannabe trolls have been very bad on the internet here lately.
Yeah, and we get a lot of that on this show. Some of it we don't even mention. I just don't bring them on air, and I say no thanks. So I appreciate your story, and I appreciate your patience in waiting for me to get you on air. So you have a good evening now, Pearson.
You too. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. All right, guys. That was Pearson Castile. He was totally new to this show tonight, and he told a pretty good tale there. So, and it didn't have anything to do with unruly children, Elderberry. So, well, here we are. We're at 11:34 Central Standard Time. Guess what? I'm pooped, and I'm going to be done for tonight. So I want to thank you all for being here. Thanks for giving me your time. I appreciate you all. I'm glad that you're here. And I hope you enjoyed it tonight. And I will see you again on Sunday morning for It's Sunday. And keep in mind, those of you who are new, It's Sunday is a much more informal show than the weekly show. So you can tune in 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, Sunday morning. Then next week, of course, all week, Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good night, and remember, as always, live long and prosper.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hi to my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.